We are knee deep into the thick of the NFL draft. Let's get it cracking. Yo, 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 no maniacs, super no maniacs. Everybody, welcome on in, man. We back for another show, man, where we want to put on display some football players for you guys, man. And let me start this one off this way and say this to be 110% clear. A lot of these guys you will see tonight are possibly more than likely UDFA. Some of them will get drafted, but more than likely they're going to be UDFAs. Not to say that UDFAs aren't important. These are some dog football players we're about to show you guys tonight. And I just don't want you to think of it as that. You know what I mean? I'm looking for traits, I'm looking for grit, looking for tenacity, consistency, all the things that I know that this team, the position coaches and the coordinators, I kind of have a sense for where they're going to be hunting for these players and the certain traits that they have. And I'm trying to get, I feel like I'm pretty dialed in on some of these guys. And I just want you guys to know that, whether somebody is drafted or not, to me is irrelevant. Do they have the traits? Do they have the skill set to make it in the NFL? And what are those skill sets? Do they translate to the NFL? And so this is what I want you to be thinking about tonight, because there's going to be plenty of you guys that as these players we pull up on the board and we show you guys, you're going to go to see who's projecting them where. And there's going to be a lot of them that's going to say UDFA. I'm less than worried about that. I'm less than worried about that. These guys, I'm telling you, if you choose to go, at least look at the highlights. At least look at the highlights. I'm putting my money on you're gonna absolutely like these players that we have on the board for you guys tonight. I've been working my butt off to make sure you guys got it. FFG's done his little homework, man, and we're gonna get it cracking. FFG, what's up, man? You muted. You muted, bro. FFG, you muted.
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, what up, everybody? I'll do a little extra homework here, just checking out everything that's going on. It's a lot of stuff. So last time I was on, the last week, we did some great things, in my opinion, and that's all I can go with. Everybody's got their own. Welcome, Marco King, Derek Guy, Jason Jones, Liberty Outlook, JC Capone, Don, Joseph Archer, Paul Rodriguez. We in the house. So let's do this. I know on a little extra sauce, it was, we got, by the time that happened, we got 2 Pro Bowl linemen at guard position. And that's, for me, is hard to resist that being a positive for my team. We even have that kind of talent, just be in line whether they can teach or whether they can play. And right now they both can play, so I'm happy about that. Because that ain't something I can have said 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now we're looking for a center. So free agency is rapidly approaching. By Monday through Wednesday, we're going to have a whole bunch of extra compliments to this team. We just got one today. We got a tight end from Miami. He's basically that bookend tight end that you want to help Cole Kmet not have to be the blocker. He really ain't, because we all saw last year he looked like crap in a lot of games because he wasn't putting wood to nobody.
Well, hold on. Let me keep you where you were at the first time before you went over to Cole Kmet. Let's keep you where you are. So let me remind people who I'm pretty sure there's nobody in this chat right now that doesn't know. We just signed 2 Pro Bowl offensive guards, and that is Joe Tooney from Kansas City and what is his name, Jonah Jackson from the Rams. And so let's start there. What did you think about the deal? And are you one of those people that felt like because Trips and they just had to be, I had to sell them on it. Basically, they don't like giving up passes.
I look at it like this: I got a Pro Bowl guard that's 28 for a 6th-round draft pick. I'm trading that every day. That I got for Justin Fields. So basically, I traded Justin Fields for a Pro Bowl lineman in his prime, which is 2 years older than Justin Fields. I'm going to take that because offensive linemen, usually last in this league. So, and he's got quality coaching now. So, and he's can play center, which is a benefit to us because we haven't had that kind of caliber alignment to be able to move over and step into another position. Then we got a Hall of Fame guard and Joe Tooney that is just going to be able to. And the beauty of both these two dudes, they can both come in the room, in the offensive line room, in the offensive room, and say, we won Super Bowls. Listen up. This is how we're going to do it. And that's something the coach can't even say. And that's where the winning prowess of the people that we're hiring or bringing in the building matters. And that's what I really love about the whole situation.
Veteran leadership transfers in so many different ways. Not only just the football field, in the locker room. When you talk, one of the things I was talking about on Nomad at Night the other night, or was it some extra sauce? We was doing that show. I was talking about, one of the deficiencies I've seen on the roster, especially in that offensive line room, is they didn't have veterans. We had at least one tackle that was a real projection, and Braxton Jones. And, to be honest with you, man, he's played well for where he was drafted. And, for where he came from, I think the best of Braxton Jones for the most part. Darnell Wright, we knew he was a plug and play right tackle. We knew that he was going to come in here and start day one. Braxton Jones, we didn't necessarily know that. But the fact that they haven't had any mentorship or any leadership or someone that can really show them how to, use the tools of the trade, the tricks of the trade in that game, and there's tricks to that trade. Nobody there to bounce the thoughts off of. They were really, kind of, learning on the fly. And I think that's okay, I guess. But that's not ideal, in my opinion. I think they should have had vet pieces in here to help them along the line. You might have seen a whole lot better Braxton Jones and a whole lot better Darnell Wright if you'd have done that. I think that was one of the deficiencies on the roster, man. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I really think there was no veteran leadership. Even when the center came in, he was not the leader. So, and they was fighting for that job to start out the season. So even the guy that was supposed to be the center, which everybody thought was hurt all season, now we still can cut him or pay him the $4 million if he's going to be a backup this season. And in my opinion, I'm letting him go because I'd rather be able to put a better draft pick or somebody else that I can pay more money for the center or whatever I need going forward than the guys that we can get that were the backups that actually played, games last season and aren't making peanuts. So it's really about the continuity that's going to be.
Look at what Jason Jones is saying. He said it was the blind leading the blind on his O-line. That is
that is so true. It was a blind leading the blind on the O-line. Yeah, but now you're going to have Super Bowl champs leading the line, and we finna go out there and crack some spines in the running game and the passing game. So, and because of the coaching that we're going to bring, that we already brought in, you're going to see a major transition, I think, on that part of the offense that will make all the plays look better, be more productive, and will give us a chance to win every week.
I just want to say this. Now, before I get into the center talk here in a second, there's no 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4, 5. That's a trick bag or some kind of magic potion to fixing all of the woes for the Chicago Bears. I just want y'all to know that. We can't get a player or a group of players that's going to come in here and just poof, it's going to get better. No, it's going to take time, repetition, and just them building chemistry together. No matter how many linemen they go out and get, they're going to need time on task, man. They're going to need time on task to get acquainted with each other. That number one. But on the football side of things, just getting a flow with each other, the communication has got to be hella communication amongst each other. During camp, man, during practices, everything needs to be loud and boisterous. Those dudes, the more they communicate, the better they're going to be. To the point to where now we don't even need to communicate. We can just look at each other, hand gesture, and things like that. And those are the traits of the really good offensive lines that don't do a whole lot of communicating. They look at each other, point, and they know exactly what's going on. It's going to take time to build that. It's going to take time to build it. I think people should know that right off the top. It's going to take time. Not to say that I'm pretty sure with those two pieces they have, I think they got a real strong chance of really putting something special together on this offensive line. But just understand it's going to take a little bit of time.
Oh, I wholeheartedly believe what you're saying, Nomad. The one thing that I do rely on is the guy that's been to 6 Super Bowls, all pro, and he was a captain of his team as an offensive lineman that can actually get everybody in gear. So he can say, hey, look, this is what we need to do. He can help the center. He can help the guard or the tackle on the right, which is going to be Darnell Wright. And then he's got another all-pro on the other side who already knows the game, has been under that pressure, been in the Super Bowl and won. Like, hey, woo, let's do this. And he's already played under Ben Johnson, so he already knows the deal. So we're getting quality leadership on the offensive line that we haven't had in forever.
I think we had some decent leadership. I wouldn't shortchange them there. I think they had leadership there. The quality of the players, I think, was subpar. The injuries. I think the injuries probably done us in more than anything else. Lucas Patrick, Ryan Bates, those guys were really counting on to make a difference in this offensive line. And that's no fault of the front office who went and picked them up. It's just, that's what attrition has for you. Nate Davis, that's a whole conversation I'd rather not get into. That was a debacle for the most part. But go ahead, man.
Well, by you saying that, then who was the steadying voice on the offensive line?
Man, Lucas Patrick was a good leader in that room.
Tevin Jenkins stayed hurt almost the whole time. Tevin Jenkins was always hurt too. So I said steadying voice.
Hey, bro, being a leader and being injured is two different damn things now. Two different things. You could still be a leader, but if you're hurt, you're hurt. Ain't nothing you can do about attrition. You know what I mean? But that doesn't, because he was hurt doesn't mean there wasn't leadership. There was leadership there. It just wasn't, it was just subpar play and injuries. That's it.
Well, I know one thing that we haven't had where we had an offensive lineman play for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, in our system or even on our team in a while. Do you see what I'm saying? So we haven't had that kind of leadership where there's an established, hey, I've been there, done that kind of leader, and now we have 2 of them, that have actually experienced some winning and at the highest level and been shown that they can be the best at their position in their conference level. And that's kind of where you want to strive to be. So it's going to be able to make everybody want to be better. It's going to make everybody listen a little bit harder. So when the coach says, hey, this is how we need to run it, they're going to be okay. And they're going to ask questions. They're going to have somebody to rely on to have their back, because it's one thing that you guys are all around the same age and, or a year or 2 apart, but nobody's actually done any winning and nobody's actually been nowhere and hasn't been around the league long enough to be able to say, here's how it's done. And we haven't had that. And that's refreshing to me.
Well, I kind of differ with that take, but it's levels to leadership too. There's levels to the type of players that you bring in the building, just like there's levels to leadership. I wouldn't shortchange Lucas Patrick. I wouldn't shortchange Tevin Jenkins. I heard was a hell of a leader in that room. There's other guys there that's been here and been a voice in there. I wouldn't shortchange that part of it. I would probably agree with you in saying that the leadership from these guys that they're bringing in now, especially with Joe Thuney, is going to be a different level. Why? It's because he's going to have everybody's ear because he's been there and done it. And so when he speaks, that's a different level of attention, right? You know what I mean? So that,
of course,
from that standpoint, I get that. But I'm not going to shortchange. I wouldn't say they didn't have leadership in that building. I don't know exactly how it looked inside there. None of us do. You know, so I just wouldn't say that, not knowing exactly what's going on inside that room. But
No,
you go ahead, man.
I didn't mean to cut you. I just want to say I think it's going to get better. That's it.
All right.
I mean, much better than it was because of the voices are going to be now be in the room.
Yeah. So here's the next part of the conversation. This is where the fan base's eyes are. The fan base's eyes are on the center position. And if you guys that know Maniacs, I know you already saw the video that I put out today on Ricky Stromberg. But let me go ahead and tell that story again for those who hadn't had time to see that video. You know, you've been doing other things and you haven't seen that one yet. But I'm gonna spoil it for you. In that video, I tried to describe exactly how that acquisition happened. And let me do a little bit better job of doing that because I don't know exactly how it came off on that video. But one of the things that's important to note is when they signed Ricky Stromberg. They signed Ricky Stromberg. This is at the tail, like towards the tail end of where we were pretty sure that the front office, the brass at Hallis Hall, they were pretty sure that Flus and Waldron, they were dead in the water. They were dead in the water. And he still went out there and made that acquisition to acquire Ricky Stromberg, who had just come off an injury, a knee surgery. That, that whole story is out there. You can go check that out for yourself. But I thought it was important to note that when he signed them, and the fact that I think would alarm, the fan base is like, you want to sign this guy that you were, high on. Ricky Stromberg came in here for a top 30 visit that year he was drafted. So Ryan Poles had him on the radar. He was coveted. He was one of my top centers. He was the top center, as a matter of fact, when I was scouting those guys. And so it did not surprise me that as soon as, the Commanders gave him an injury settlement and put him out on the street, Ryan Poles pounced because he knows what caliber of a player this is. And now, so you taking a guy that had a surgery, came back, and I've heard a couple of little things, and it sounded like he came back healthy and he was working on the practice squad. And I guess Ryan Poles did not want to push him out there and have him play. You know what I mean? Because it was not necessary at that point. They knew the coaching staff was going to be gone by the time they got Ricky Stromberg. They knew he's going to be gone. So why would you put him out there and risk? You want that guy to have a full training camp with this team, with a new coaching staff, and give him a fresh restart. That's what I think happened with the acquisition of Ricky Stromberg. It was a look into the future. Ryan Poles was seeing around the corner a little bit. And so I think the timing of that and how it played out made nothing but sense to me. If I was Ryan Poles, I'd have did the exact same thing. Keep him out of the fray. You don't have to rush him out onto the field. There was really no need for it. And so let him work the practice squad and let's see what he's got. Give him a fresh restart in training camp. Let's go from there. That's what I think happened with Ricky Stromberg. So I'm not one of them people that feels like we need to, move heaven and earth just to get Dahlman. I don't think so. If you've seen Ricky Stromberg's tape, and Ricky Stromberg is anything like a semblance to the health that he had when he came out, you don't need Dahlman. I'm just being honest. That's my opinion. You guys that are there and you want to get Dahlman, I understand y'all. I have no problem with it. That's just my take on it.
I have to disagree. He's yet to play in the NFL. And so
he played again, 4 games. He played 4 games.
Okay, 4 games. But I'm just saying it's not a good sample size if you want to look at his play. So he's still going to have to get acclimated, those kinds of things. So I still would give him competition. I'm not going to just crown him starting center. So I need to have competition.
That's not what I'm saying.
And I need to bring competition in the draft as well, because our center position has been one of the weakest we've had in the last 10, 15 years.
That's not what I'm saying. Don't misquote me. Now, I'm saying that people forget what we have on the roster. And he went and made that move for a reason. It's all I'm saying. How it plays out.
Oh, no. I think the reason why they got him is to get rid of Doug Kramer. So they can have a really quality backup that can actually play the center position and not be the de facto fullback and all the other crap they were trying to running back and all that BS they tried to do last year, with the kid, because he wasn't, living up to his stature. And I know he played for Illinois. When he played for Illinois, he was actually pretty decent. But when he got to a larger stage, it just didn't transfer, and he's been hurt too. So that's the reason why you want to get you a healthy starting center and draft a rookie so they can all battle it out. We want that position to be as strong as possible. Yes, his potential is there. I just haven't seen it come to fruition at this point. So I rather have, insurance policy when it comes to him.
So if they don't go out and get Dahlman, is the world going to come crashing down in your house?
No, Fries and Brown. There's other centers out there that are experienced right now in the NFL that you can go still get in free agency, where you're not breaking the bank if you don't get Dahlman.
Well,
but you can get a quality, experienced center that's actually played multiple games, over 40 or 50 games, that knows what they're doing and can acclimate quickly. That's another veteran presence you'll have in that locker room to help the young guys that you're trying to bring along, especially the ones that are trying to get healthy and get back on the field.
Wouldn't you think part of the reason, because we know that we feel pretty solid that they want to draft a center, right? Everybody, that's kind of uniform across the fan base. Everybody feels like we need to get a center. All right, but let me think about it this way. Think about it this way. You're going to have a couple of young centers battling out for the job. You got Ricky Stromberg. You're probably going to draft a guy, and however this thing plays out, Coleman Shelton or whoever else they get, you're going to have a young buck at center. What better situation to put that center in and to put him around two quality veteran offensive guards? When you think about it that way, does it start to make a little bit more sense then?
It does, but the injury history is still a concern. That's the only thing that I'm really concerned about, because that's what derailed us every year for the last 4 to 5 years, is we can't have 5 dudes that start 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row at all for no reason. And that's not at any point in the season. And that's kind of sad that we're one of the only teams that can put out, the starting lineup. We even decided after training camp that these would be the 5 dudes, and they still can't come into the day one and play.
Well, I'm worried about every single guy on the roster when it comes to that FFG, knock on wood. Injuries going to happen. It's a damn violent ass game, and they're going to happen. So, I'm not so hyper-focused on it because of the history and the offensive line room in Chicago. I know they're going to get it right eventually. They went through some turmoil. That's the way I look at it. They went through some turmoil, some up and downs, some attrition, maybe a couple of bad pickups, whatever. I just know that, trial and error happens. Attrition is going to happen. I don't look at history as my benchmark. That's just what happened. I think it can get better from here. You got nowhere to go but up at this point. And
I'm wishing them all the luck in the world. Trust me. But I'm still not going to depend on luck to make sure that's going to benefit my team, because we're trying to win now. And if you can see what they're trying to do, I think they're in a win now mode. So you want to have, a starter, backup, and competition. So if something happens, and now let's say he's healthy, he can push to get to that starting role, or at least be the backup in case there's an injury or whatever, to get him back in the, the mode of playing on a regular basis, So we have to – our real biggest problem that has plagued the Bears for years is injury. It ain't talent. It ain't cohesiveness. It's injury, because we don't get any of that because of injury. So we don't get no cohesive line. We don't get no everybody knows what they're doing with the man next to them, because, number one, the coaching has been crap on that side of the ball. Just like somebody said in the chat, it's just not been a fluid situation where we have quality coaching and players staying on the field to play. And that's really what it is. So if we can get quality players to stay on the field, that will benefit us more than anything else.
Man, listen, I don't see the Bears' woes as any different than any other NFL franchise. I'm not going to be woe is me as a Bears fan. We've been more hurt and injured than anybody else. Man, every damn team in the league is busted up. Every team in the league has injury concerns and attrition going on. And, you know, all that being said, man, I think I think timing is everything. You know, whatever you do in life, timing is everything. And I think right now, it just wasn't our time, man. That's the way I look at it. That's how I choose to look at it. But let me move the ball one more little area right here, because another thing that the fan base is really going crazy about, and I was just talking to somebody in the comment section after one of these shows, and it's like, you know, I understand how the fan base gets in this part of the season, man. We get a little greedy, man. We get a little starry-eyed, man. We get to seeing all these opportunities out here. I want it. I want that too. Everybody's like, I want this, I want that. And there's some good players that have requested a trade. There are some good players that have been given permission to seek a trade. Question is how, like me, when I'm looking at this draft as intently as I'm looking at it, FFG, and you one of the people that knows how focused I am on these players in this draft and knowing them. You know what I mean? You're one of the people that knows that, and the No Maniacs know that too by this point. So I'm looking at this draft, and I'm looking at, you know, these opportunities in, you know, trade market and free agency, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm like, I don't know, man. I wonder if the fan base gets to see what I'm looking at on film on a regular basis, and they still want to, you know, go pay somebody $35 million to come in and be an edge rusher at 30 years old. I like that football player, and he would be an absolute fit. The connection is there between he and Dennis Allen. I would love to see that happen, but I do worry about what we are giving up in the process. We still have a couple of years before we have to pay Caleb Williams. So in reality, now is the time. If you did actually want to do that, now is the time to go make something like that happen. So I would not be mad about it, but me in my mind is, these players in the draft, I can see what they're going to be. You know, I look at some of these guys like Landon Jackson, JT Tuimoloau, some of these other guys in the draft that I think are going to be superb. And I'm wondering, why do we feel the need? The question is, how long do you think how long do you think it takes until they start giving you that kind of production? You know, that's the thing that, you know, it's a two-prong, it's a two-track mind way of thinking. You know, in this, but I'm leaning more towards get him in the draft. That's how
I am. Based on what you said, yeah, it's either you decide, hey, I see what I can do, because one of the options was to trade with them first round draft picks. But by us having a top 10 pick, that puts them closer to getting a top edge rusher. You know what I mean? And offering them a separate pick, whatever it is down the road or even next year, right? Because the same thing that Khalil Mack got after being really productive with the Bears, when we traded him away to San Diego, they got a 2 and a 6. So, and really what they're trying to do is free up cap space. So, I mean, unless somebody comes with some outrageous like 2 1s or something, okay, bye. But there are a lot of great defensive ends, and my favorite, you know, is Landon Jackson. I think he could be the next, you know, Crosby right now. I think
big ass.
I really think that he could be. But he's huge. He plays the run, and he's got the motor. You know, actually, I think he could probably be the next Julius Peppers. Not that because he's got the athletic ability. You know, I think he could be somewhere in there, you know, where he's just a dominant athletic player. Now, I don't think he's running as fast as Peppers, but goodness, this kid can play. And yeah, it's going to depend on what kind of playing time they get. That's really been the only difference when Tuimoloau and all these other guys that you see, when they get on the team, will they be the starting defensive end to see how they're going to be productive? If they're in a rotation, they have to show out. And that's really what it's going to be.
Hey, it's like this,
in my opinion.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared to be accepting of whatever they decide to do, because I know it's the start out, and it feels a little bit. It feels a little bit desperate right now. It feels a little bit desperate, and they know they need to get this thing rolling. They need to get some. They need to get some momentum, and they need to get some wins on the board. And they need to get this thing turned around really, really quick. And I can sense there's a sense of desperation coming out of there. There's some urgency coming out of House Hall, and I like that. You know, and I really like that. I don't like people being comfortable at their roles. You know, there's something to be said for that, but there's not enough, you know, W's in the column. There's not enough development on the field. There's not enough wins. And I'm talking about from the football side of it to the coaching side. There's not enough W's going on. And there should be a sense of urgency going on right now. And I can appreciate that, man. And I'm just going, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm not big for the criticism, man. I'm just going to get out of these people's way, do my part as a podcaster and a, you know, my part as a talent evaluator for, you know, the fan base. And that's where my lane is. Telling these people how to go about, you know, what they're going to do with that money and that purse. That ain't none of my business. I give suggestions and I leave it there. How everybody else thinks of it, that's how everybody else thinks of it. I don't really put too much weight into it.
You know what? I think this new regime is changing up the script that we've seen in a long time. So it's hard to determine how they're going to react and what they're going to do. And this is actually kind of what you want to see. Like, you don't know what's going to happen because everything they've been doing lately has been actually quality, efficiency, and power. You know, they're paying the money for the coaches. They're getting the right type of teachers in here. They're getting the right kind of veterans in here. They save the money up front. You know, they got the quarterback up front. So now, what you were asking me earlier about Chicago being attractive, it really is now. It really, really is, because now you can see yourself in this system and playing for this defense or playing for this offense. Tell me a player that don't want to show out coming here and won't play their hardest, because they know if you win here, you the man.
FFG, don't jizz all over yourself, man. They ain't no you a Bears fan and you in that chamber, man. You're in that chamber. Just because we made a couple of moves don't mean that the Bears all of a sudden became hell of attractive. Now, I'm a realist when it comes. I bleed orange and blue. I bleed it. But I'm a realist at the same time, man. Just because we made a couple of moves, got a couple of coaches, that means something on the surface. But don't think that we just became the prettiest girl on the block, dog. Don't stop fooling yourself, bro. Don't jizz on yourself now.
I ain't none of that. I'm just telling you, it's becoming a better situation on a daily basis. And that's all I'm displaying to you. Because I think the is getting ready to start. And so everybody's looking at what's going on around the league, who's giving up what, who's releasing who's not going to have, you know, whatever next year. And based on their current situation, what's a good fit for me? Money can I make? Because
I think FFG froze up on
me. And it means something to you.
You back?
Yeah, I'm mad at Scrolls because I don't need no napkins.
We'll leave that conversation alone. But I do, you know, one last thing before I get to one more topic I almost forgot about before we move into these players. I do like the way this portends for Caleb Williams. Now, all I ever wanted was for him to come in here, regardless of everything that happened beforehand. I just wanted him to come in here into a situation that is, you know, just some fertile soil. You know what I mean? I wanted to see a quarterback for a change hit fertile soil and have, you know, the soil have everything it needs for that kid to grow. You know what I mean? That's all I ever wanted for anybody that ever came into this building, in particular a quarterback. I just wanted him to see fertile soil. It does feel really good with the moves that's been made. Listen to Ben Johnson talk about, how he wants to structure what they do. You know what I mean? It being a physical game, all that kind of thing. And I would say this, Caleb probably should get ready to learn to live a life where he doesn't have to throw the ball 35, 45 times in a game. He should learn to, there's going to be games when he got to chunk that ball around the yard, but he should get used to the idea that it's not going to be rested on his shoulders, the entire game. Like, you're going to turn around and hand that thing off and you're going to let your offensive line dominate. They're trying to set up that scenario. They're trying to set up the scenario so where that's the best thing that you can give a quarterback is a great offensive line and a running game. There's not a receiver in the world, there's not a tight end in the world that is as good and as efficient as an offensive line and a running game to help a young quarterback. There's no better gift you can give them. And so the way it's setting up now and the way they're going is starting to trend in that direction. And I like that. I love that for that kid, man, because he's going to need it, man. Because if he doesn't get off to a pretty good start, man, the whole shit's going to turn around on him. And, for whatever reasons that they are, I just want to see that dude put his feet in fertile ground so he has a chance. And it seems like they're setting him up to have one.
And that's the most important thing that I see. They've neglected the offensive line, the pressure that's getting to him, or Justin Fields, hell, that the Bears quarterbacks have actually been quarterbacks, probably could have been much better, more
Bro, I don't know what's going on with your feed, but it is bad right now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Maybe every time I see you lean back and start moving around, your feed gets bad. It's like you got a computer chip in your head or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. They started to get a little fuzzy when I was looking at it. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. No, I really think that that is a detriment to.
All right. Why don't you reset your computer, man, or something, because your feed is bad. I'm going to take you down for a minute. All right. So one last thing that I want to talk about, and FFG, give me a thumbs up when you feel like, and hold it up high when you feel like your feed is decent. I'll put you back on the screen. One last thing I do want to talk about is the idea. Now, this is something I was, and if you've been watching the Nomad Network, then you know this is something I've been talking about for quite some time. And that is the idea that Jonathan Allen might come and become available to, on free agency. Now, it was said that, they might find some trade partners for him, but that didn't happen. And I think they've been trying to get a trade partner for him in this offseason. And okay, hold on. And so what I was talking about was I've been talking about the idea of adding Jonathan Allen to this roster. And, at one point in the season, we knew that I felt like this was going to come to this point. They were not going to pay him, and he was either going to get traded or hit the market. And so they basically, they gave him a chance to go seek out a trade. He couldn't find the trade partner that he wanted, and they let him go, and now he's out there. I think he's the perfect fit for what we want to do, and I'll say this, to the Javon Dexter fans, and there's no bigger Javon Dexter fan out here in the Bears universe than me. Hell, I was pounding the table for us to get him, and I'm still high on Javon Dexter. Here's the thing. You still need rotation. You need depth. If you sign Jonathan Allen, that does not necessarily mean that he's going to lessen, the snap count of Javon Dexter. I don't think so. Not the way Dennis Allen plays his defense. You can see 2-3 techs on the field on a regular basis. I've seen sometimes where there's 2 nose tackles on the field. And so in this scheme, in the way Dennis Allen, prescribes a defense, I think a Jonathan Allen move is pretty good. I don't know if it's worth that kind of money. That part of it, is up for debate as far as I'm concerned. Is he worth that kind of money? I don't know. We can have debate about that, but I do love the player, and I do love what he can bring to the table. It might be some cheaper options out there, but who knows what they do. This is the last thing before I get to the players.
Well, I'm with Squirrels. I just want to know how much he costs because he would be a quality addition to the team and make that defensive tackle, 3 tech, even 1 tech, explosive. But it's about what they're willing to spend in the offseason. It really is. So because they know they can get quality defensive tackles in the draft and develop ones on the team because I just seen them. They tended to offer to Jonathan Ford for Green Bay for last year. So they took the exclusive offer. So they already tendered him a deal.
Who?
So
Wait a minute, say that all over again. Who?
Jonathan Ford from Green Bay, the 1 technique.
They offered him a deal.
Yep, they offered him a deal.
That was
right
smart.
Before we came on the show too.
That was smart. I was hoping they would do that. It made nothing but sense when you look at the tape. That's one of the things I did this offseason was review the tape, all the players, and just to have a sense of, when we get to this point in the season where we start having shows about whether or not we should keep a guy, cut a guy, see his value. So you gotta. Unfortunately, I'm a football junkie, and I need some help, y'all. But I watched too much film. But that's part of what I did in the offseason. Right as the season was ended, I just went through the roster and started looking at the film, everything that I can find on the reps, anything that I can find to see, once we got to this point, should you re-sign this player? Should you offer this guy a deal? And he was one of the clear, out of all the mess that went on this year, he was one of the clear and obvious players that you like, yeah, you better offer him something. You better offer him something.
Really, to me, it was him and Matt Pryor was the first two I was calling.
Yeah.
And then they were smart about getting Bill Murray a deal, and then the defensive end that could be a rotational piece, because you already got rid of one starting defensive end, so you had to have at least one rotational piece before you start either going to free agency or in the draft. So I thought that was smart.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get cutting, man. We'll finish this conversation.
Get busy. Do you think?
Let me get in here. I'm gonna pull you down for a little while so I can get these guys off and finish them up, and then I'll pull you back in. You good?
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Do me a favor. When I pull you down, take one of your feeds off so I'll know which one to put in. You got 2 feeds on here. All right, I'm gonna take him down. All right, let's get started, man. Let's get into these football players. Let me see. Let me read a couple comments before I get in there. I'm gonna kind of whiz through these guys. Let me see. Crooked Commissioner says, I'm thinking Allen would cost 15 a year for 3 years. He's getting paid like 15. He can, there's a world out there where he's trying to get that couple, $2-3 more $1 million, 15 to 18. There's that world out there. Do we keep the D tackle Williams that we acquired from Cleveland? He was some of the better tape that I looked at, Go Blue. When I looked, he's talking about what is his name? John Williams. What is his name? Number 91. I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Williams. I know it's number 91. Some of the better film I've seen along the defensive front. Matter of fact, especially towards the end of the season, he was probably the best looking film that I saw. Some of the best looking film that I saw. Should they offer him something? Depending on how Dennis Allen wants to construct this roster, there's no way he looked at the film that I saw and said, you know what, this guy ain't worth it. No way. They either they keep him or they see an upgrade out there for him. And so I thought his tape was impressive this offseason. Commissioner says his last contract, he was getting $18 million. He's talking about Jonathan Allen, I believe. All right, let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. Let me turn my mouse on. Hold on. Let's get into this, man. I only got, just remember, man, as I started this show off to explain to you guys, just remember, most of these guys, we're at this part of the draft process and reviewing these players where now you're in that, okay, we need to, what are we looking at? Are we looking at guys that's going to actually get drafted? Or are we looking at guys that are going to be UDFAs? They're going to be late draft picks? Whatever. Just Most of these guys are going to be late draft picks to UDFAs, but the traits are there. And all this is for me to put it out there in the open so that you guys get a chance to go look at some tape and tell me exactly what you think of it. Because if you see it, if you're seeing what I'm seeing on film, you're going to be like, holy crap, we're going to be able to get this guy as a UDFA. That's what you're going to come away with. There's going to be some explosive football players on here. But let's get started. All right, hold up. Pull the first guy up, and that's a tackle, I believe. Yep. Trey Wettig out of Indiana. He's 6'7", 310 pounds. He's a senior. Smooth, key word there. Smooth, coordinated, another key word, and packs a punch in the run game. That's when you see him. I would just say there's really no. I wouldn't really lean one way or the other. I probably said this the wrong way on the graphic. I think he's equally effective in the run game and as a pass protector because he's a fluid athlete. He's a very, very fluid athlete and knows when to fire his hands out. He's very calm, very consistent. He's a right tackle at Indiana, by the way. And, people might ask, no matter why in the hell you showing us right tackles? Because I think this guy athletically, Trey Wettig is athletically probably one of those guys that you can see going to the other side of the ball and giving you some reps. Now, I didn't see this on film, but I did see an interview with him where he said that he's taking some reps at guard. I didn't see that on film. Maybe I just didn't watch enough tape, but I didn't see that. But I think most of the reps he's taken has been on the right side. And so it was encouraging to know that he had right guard reps. And so if you look at some of the actions of the Chicago Bears, we were expecting whoever that they signed was going to be these big, beefy guys like they had at Philly. And none of that happened. They've got two guys, 310 pounds, 305 pounds. And so this guy actually fits the bill. And so he's fluid as an offensive tackle on the right side, but I think his skill set does translate to where you can move him around. Anytime I see an athlete move the way Trey Wettig does, I can just project that if you put this guy on the other side of the ball, yes, it's a different technique on the other side of the ball. It's a different technique. Everything is completely opposite. But if given time, athletically, he will find the muscle memory to be able to catch up with what he needs to be doing. And so I'm just telling you guys, Trey Wettig, let me tell you what my notes say. The consistency is what really stands out. And so one last thing before I move on to the next guy. I watched him against his stiffest competition this year. And this year, that was Ohio State. And what I saw was, again, consistency. He didn't seem at all in any way overwhelmed with the competition. None whatsoever. He was really, really consistent, really, really smooth. And he had to deal with big Tyleik Williams, who was probably going to be in the top 20 picked in this NFL draft. And he dealt with it. They put Tyleik Williams out at a 5 technique and had him pass rush against him. A few times he dealt with Jack Sawyer, a quicker, twitchier edge rusher. And it was all smooth. It was all smooth. I'm telling you, if you want to check this guy out, if you don't have time to be looking at all the stuff that I looked at, just go straight to the Ohio State film. Go straight to the Ohio State film, and you'll see exactly what I mean when I say Trey Wettig is consistent and he is smooth. None of the competition overwhelmed him. He was ready. He was very ready for whatever they brought to him. So I think this guy is a diamond in the rough, straight up. Check out Trey Wettig, 6'7", 310 pound right tackle out of Indiana, man. He's a smooth operator, man, and he packs a little punch when it comes to the run game, man. So you guys will like him. Go check him out. Next guy, this is for you, Minister Charles, but he was on the list, Minister Charles. This is linebacker Jamin Dumas-Johnson, 6'1", 238 pound senior out of Kentucky. Now, Jamin Dumas-Johnson is a transfer. He started off at Georgia, and he ended up at Kentucky. Now, he was a standout when he was at Georgia. I don't know what happened when he was at Georgia, but, maybe they brought in a serious draft class, and he felt like he was going to get brushed to the side, and he went to Kentucky. But this guy is he's stout, man. The first thing you notice about him is how thick he is. You can look at this graphic and tell maybe I should have done a better job putting a lower body image on him, but he is thick and he's strong, and he's built for the physical contact that linebackers need to be able to do, especially a middle linebacker or maybe even a Sam linebacker. The thing about him is Jamin Dumas Johnson is, I can see him playing any linebacker role, whether it's Will, middle, Sam linebacker. I think it translates his skill set. It definitely translates to any one of those roles. And so here's here's a few of the things that sticks out about him. The thick and the sturdiness, you see that right away. You can look at the graphic and see that. But he's, just really, he's a really effective blitzer. That stuck out to me on the film, man. He just he gets from A to B really, really fast as a blitzer. That stuck out to me. Played in space very well, and is a really good finisher, man. He's a sure tackler. When he hits somebody, he wraps and he brings you to the ground. That stood out to me as well. Sideline to sideline speed, that stood out. I mean, that was I wouldn't say he was like, say, Smile Munden, who was really, really fast sideline to sideline. But this he's got great football speed. So it's not like you're looking at a slow football player. You're looking at a fast football player. It's just there's faster linebackers. But, that didn't even hinder my thought process when it came to, evaluating him. I think he's got everything you need, sideline to sideline. He's got everything you need. But one thing that really, really stuck out to me was his field awareness in space. Because you can look at a linebacker especially, like Jamin Dumas Johnson, the downhill thumper, there's no problem there. He's gonna get downhill and he's gonna tackle, he's gonna make plays. He really sheds the garbage real well and gets to the ball really, really well. But one of the things that I thought was a little bit different than some of the other linebackers I've been looking at this season is his play in space, man. His field recognition was really, really superb. And I think his football IQ, and I think that comes from, just time on task. Jamin Dumas Johnson's football IQ, I think, is pretty high, man. He was able to detect things as they were happening and react to them on a split, just like nothing. And I thought that was really, really impressive about this kid, man. And so whether he's drafted or not drafted, doesn't matter. You're going to get a quality football player with this kid right here. He's already kind of at an advantage with the way he thinks and sees the game. He's already at an advantage. And so I would say that about him. I think that's his strongest attribute, and he's a downhill thumper. And I think his mind and the way he sees the game, given some time on task, I think he's starting to become advanced a little bit. And that's kind of what I want to get at with Jamin Dumas Johnson. I think he's going to be a stud linebacker at will, Mike, middle, anywhere you put him. I think he will adapt and play that role well. And so if you can get this guy late in the draft, if you want to grab a linebacker, if you want to get him after the draft, this would be a priority UDFA for me. If I feel like we need to replace something in the linebacker room, I was really, really impressed with him, man. So Jamin Dumas Johnson, linebacker out of Kentucky, 6'1", 238 pounds, senior. Go check him out, man. Worth the time. Let me get to a couple comments. All right. Let me see here. Let me see. Mr. Charles said that's what he was thinking. Eh? And he's got some good traits to him, Mr. Charles, man. I knew that. I just didn't want to say nothing at the time when you was mentioning him. He got some really good traits. Really good traits. Thank y'all. Hey, thank you, Osama bin Johnson. Smash the likes up, man. Hit the likes for us, man. Do us a favor, hit the likes. If you're listening to the show and you're not participating in the chat and you haven't hit the subscribe button, do us that favor, man. We would really appreciate that love and support, man. That's all we ask for, man. We work hard over here. All right, let me get to the next guy. Let me see here. All right. So this is a let me tell you a little story about Demi Sumo Kambe. Number one, this guy right here, you probably heard me say tough as a $2 steak many, many times. So this is Demi Sumo Kambe out of Kentucky, 6 foot, 210 pounds. He's a senior. This guy, let me tell you something. He is tough. You understand me? Tough. Let me read the little bitty traits I got about this guy first. So firstly, he's a sneaky running back. Like you wouldn't. It's like I don't know if any of you guys have even heard of this kid, but some of the Kentucky people out here or the people that live in that part of the country, I apologize because some people absolutely know who Demi Sumo Karnbe is. But for those people who don't, man, this is a treat. This is a real treat. So I'll tell you what happened one night. Demi Sumo Kambe, I was watching a game against Georgia. I had just turned it on, and I think they had just kicked it off. I might have missed the first couple of minutes of the game. But by the time I got to the game, Demi Sumo Kambe, let me tell you something. When you're used to watching a Georgia game against whoever, you're used to seeing Georgia take the fight to that other team. And they're just really taking it to them, being more physical, being more aggressive, being more fast, finishing more, and just the energy and the juice usually favors Georgia. I turned this game on this year, and this little dude was bringing it to him. That dude ain't no bigger than Jahmyr Gibbs, but he doesn't run like that. Demi Sumo Kambe is a physical running back. Now, I don't know how that portends for his future as an NFL player, but he does most of his work on the interior. You look at the film, most of the big yardage that he gets, you'll see it on the interior. This dude is tough. He ain't ducking no smoke. None whatsoever. I mean, this guy, I was very, very impressed with this guy. You know what's going to happen? Demi Sumo Kambe is going to end up he's going to sneak on somebody's roster. And he's going to struggle and get through camp, and he's going to make a team. And he's going to be low on that depth chart. And they're going to fool around. Some people are going to get hurt. And he's going to end up getting the ball handed to him. And the fans are going to love this kid. They are going to love this kid. That's the sheer toughness and the determination that he runs with for a guy 6 foot, 210 pounds. Are you kidding me? This guy is serious, man. I seen him literally put his whole team on his back and take it to Georgia. I don't remember who won that game. Y'all might want to double check, but I'm telling you, he gave his team, he reversed that, Georgia has all the juice. No, he gave them the juice. Man, he was bringing it to them cats, man. Demi Sumo Kambe was one of the more impressive running backs I've seen this offseason. I ain't going to say he's like one of the better ones, but when I'm talking about grit and toughness, you can't ask for better than this. But let me point out some things about this cat. One of the things that you notice about him right away is his acceleration is a little bit sneaky, man. Like, okay, he runs so many physical runs, you forget that he's got great patience in reading the setup of the block, and he can really exploit a crease or a gap and get up on you real fast and be into that secondary because he's got great acceleration. But that's one, and he's got easy hands, man. He's a natural pass catcher, by the way. And a lot of times I've heard people say stuff to me like, "Hey, how good is he as a pass protector?" It really don't matter when you're in college. You can show some stuff on film, and you can show it consistently. But in the NFL, when you're getting a 245, 250-pound linebacker screaming down at you, full speed, Micah Parsons or whoever else, that's different. Let's see how much you're willing to block then, because it doesn't really matter what you do in college to me. As far as pass blocking goes, when it gets to this level, I'm going to really see what you made of when it comes to that pass blocking. And so I don't see this guy as that kind of running back anyway. He's not one of those guys that you would have in the game when it comes down to pass rush situations. He's going to be one of those gadget backs, one of those third down backs. You can put him out in space because the hands are pillowy soft. But Demi Sumo Kambe out of Kentucky, running back, 6 foot, 210 pounds, man, he was a real treat to watch on film, man. I think this guy is super duper tough. Super tough. I love to watch him. Get to the next guy. Let me get to a couple of comments before I go in there. Let me see here. Osama says we need a physical running back and run. Absolutely, man. That little dude is tough, dude. I'm not kidding y'all. I'm not kidding y'all. Paul Rodriguez says, small dude in between the tackles. First back I think of was Warwick Dunn. He does kind of give you that kind of vibe. He does, but he's way more physical than Warwick Dunn. Warwick Dunn was a damn magician at avoiding the big hit. This guy, he will run right through you if he needs to. The toughness there's just no denying him. Here you go, Blue. He says Terrell Davis opportunities. That's what happens, man. That guy's gonna get on the team and he's gonna sneak into the lineup, and they ain't gonna be able to get his ass out of there. You watch. Let me see. He's a tough little dude. I'm telling you, Scrolls. Just check him out, man. I think you're gonna see him as a grown ass man when you watch him play. Is he built for the everyday 3-down rigors of a 3 to 4 down running back in the NFL? Yeah, he'd break down after a while. But I don't think anybody that's realistically drafting that kid is going to look at him as that 3-down back. He's going to be, he's going to be that 3rd down specialist kind of guy. All right, let's get to the next guy. Now, Tommy Akinbasote, 6'5", 315 pounds senior out of Maryland. First thing I want to say off the top is I am so impressed with what they're doing down there in Maryland, especially some of the quality of the players. I think I've seen some really good defenses and defensive lines this year. You got your Michigans of the world. I think Florida had a really good D line. I think Ohio State had a really good D line. There's a lot of teams that I think have really strong D lines. This one might be right there at the tippy top. This one might be right there at the tippy top. We already know about my guy Jordan Davis, the nose tackle and the plug in the middle. His play, Jordan Davis's play, allowed this guy right here, Tommy Akinbasote, 6'5", 315 pounds, as a 3-tech to really, really get it off, because Jordan Phillips was requiring a whole lot of double teams, and it led him play in one-on-one situations, and it was really, really effective. I got another Maryland player that I'm going to show you guys here in just a second, but this guy, his play strength is phenomenal. There's nothing if you go look at the stats, any kind of stats when it comes to Tommy Akinbasote, there is nothing on that stat in that stat box that's going to tell you that this is some kind of superior player. This is what I know, and this is why I highlight this guy. So if you watch Dennis Allen film, I've been watching Dennis Allen film for a while now, quite some time, and I noticed over the last couple of years they lost David Onyemata, who was really their toughest run stopper. He was a 3-tech and a nose guard, a dual-purpose defensive tackle. Remember that and circle that. They lost Marcus Davenport, who was probably their toughest run-stopping edge rusher. So what I'm getting at is Dennis Allen usually boasted he was in the top 10 against the run, and probably most of the time lower than that with that group. When he had Marcus Davenport and when he had David Onyemata, within the span of a couple of years in a row, he lost David Onyemata to Atlanta. And then he lost Marcus Davenport just last year to, I think, Detroit. Can't remember exactly where he went, but I believe he went to Detroit. And the run defense absolutely sucked. And the fan base tore him up about it. They tore him up about it. And see, what I'm getting at is I know what a Dennis Allen defense looks like when they have the pieces to play with. And so the first thing you need to know when it comes to a Dennis Allen defense is you better stop the run first. You better stop the run first and earn your right to rush the passer. And so whatever he does, I can guarantee you, I can pretty much put all my money on this. He's going to be looking for a Tommy Akinbasote because he does what? Because he's strong against the run. He's phenomenal against the run. First thing you're going to notice when you turn on the tape is how phenomenal that kid is against the run. And his play strength is absolutely awesome. He might be the best, let's just say, stack and shed. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. When you engage with the offensive lineman and you're watching the run game and you need to make a play on the ball, the way he stacks that guy when he makes contact and locks out his arms to release that guy and make a move on that ball, he might be the best defensive tackle I've seen do it. Maybe outside of his teammate, Jordan Phillips. And that's strange to say. The two strongest stack and shed defensive tackles I've seen in the draft so far are the ones from Maryland. They are doing a really good job with these kids down there. I'm telling you, if you want to see some strong defensive line play. You turn on you some Maryland tape. They are recruiting well, and I don't know how they're getting them, but that coach they need to build a statue of him out there. There's nowhere in the world Maryland should be getting these types of players. Wait until you see the talent along that defensive line. And this is just one of them, Tommy Akabasote, 6'5", 315 pounds. He's a beast. He's athletic. He's got a basketball background, so you can see some of that in this game. He can really, really move, man. He can really, really move. But that, I'm telling you, there's an emphasis in Hallis Hall when it comes to Dennis Allen's defense. He does not want to repeat of what he just saw the last 2 years in New Orleans, and they just really struggle to stop the run. He's going to target guys that are really strong against the run, and wherever he gets them at, whether it's the late rounds, whether it's in the after draft market, wherever you have to get them at, get them. It doesn't matter. Just get them. And so this is a strong, strong player when it comes to that. He's not going to wow you with the pass rushing stats. Don't even think about that. But against the run, this is a solid piece to have as a rotational piece. And I heard he did pretty well down at the combine. I didn't see it, but I heard he was there in the combine. He did halfway decent down there. So check him out, Tommy Akinbasote out of Maryland, 6'5", 315-pound senior. I'm telling you, should treat the watch against the run game. You got to be a football junkie like me to be able to enjoy stuff like that. And so, all right, we're going to get to a couple of comments. Let's see. Come on, man. Y'all get the likes up, man. What are we doing? Yes, sir. Go Blue, Maryland and Rutgers. So I'm going to expound on that a little bit. I've noticed some of the better players in the nation are coming from the Eastern Seaboard, Go Blue. All over through Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, D.C. I mean, just a hotbed all of a sudden that I already knew was a hotbed of football players, because when I went to school, we had a bunch of them at school with me. I was just like, damn, I didn't know they balled like that over there. And that's a hotbed of talent. Penn State is doing a hell of a job recruiting over there. Maryland's doing a hell of a job recruiting over there. Rutgers is doing a hell of a job recruiting over there. It is one of the hotbeds when it comes to those. I mean, it's just some really good talent out of there, man. I feel you, Go Blue. Get the likes up, please, y'all. All right, we're going to keep on rolling, man, because I do have more for y'all. Here's his teammate, Quayshawn Fuller. To be honest with you, I think this DN Quayshawn Fuller, 6'3", 264-pound senior, I think he might be a little bit more impressive than his teammate, Akinbasote, as an edge rusher. Know why? It's because he's more versatile. You see this guy line up at 3-tech. You see this guy lining up as a strong edge, wide 9 edge. But you see sometimes the most impactful plays that he makes on film, you'll see him lining up on the inside because he's got a burst advantage. That burst is for real. He can get off the ball. And one thing that really, really stands out about Quayshawn Fuller is the violence he plays with. And so that's one of the traits I've been really, really searching hard for, is to find guys that got hella motor and this extremely violent in their football play. And that there's an urgency to his game. The quickness is there. The burst is there. He's long. He's powerful. And it's like you're looking at him play on film and you're wondering to yourself, like, why ain't nobody talking about this cat? Why is there nobody talking about this cat? And this is why having multiple draft picks later in the draft, this is why it pays off. You're going to get a guy that's going to come in. He's going to surpass. He might get drafted in the 7th round or something like that. He's going to totally outplay that. Totally. Quayshawn Fuller is a monster. And when he wins against in the rush, when he wins and he's in the pass rush, he's getting after that quarterback. He's winning it 9 times out of 10, and he's finishing it. He's a monster, man. He's got long arms. He's powerful, and he's versatile. The 3-tech, the interior tackle reps that he was taking, and I think they probably, was experimenting with him with that burst of his. They probably felt like he can have an advantage over some of these guards and tackles. Throw him in that 3-tech and let's see if he can shoot the gap. Man, wait until you see this kid on film. Quayshawn Fuller was a treat. And I'm just like, again, I'm very impressed with what they do down in Maryland, man. I am very, very impressed with their coaching staff, everything that they have going on down there, and the development. You see, when you look at Maryland defensive front play, you're seeing really, really mature football players. Really, really mature football players that have now, and I believe every one of these players are still developmental, but you're seeing really, really mature, grown football players when you watch these guys play. It is Quayshawn Fuller is a treat, and I guarantee you guys are gonna like him. 6'3", 264-pound senior out of Maryland. I am telling you, he's got everything you want as a Dennis Allen edge rusher. Dennis Allen would love this guy. He's absolutely atypical for what Dennis Allen is looking for. The length, the strength, the power, the size, everything, and position versatile. Every coach, I don't care who he is, loves to have options. And knowing that you have options with this football player, you can line them up inside, outside, and you can do multiple things along your front, gives you more options. And so that's how you should think about this whenever you go and turn on this kid's tape. Think about where his alignments are and how they play him. And that's what I think you guys are going to come away with, probably feeling the same way I'm feeling about him. If you've already looked at Dennis Allen film, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So for all those who have already looked at Dennis Allen film and can kind of see what he likes in an edge rusher or a defensive end, you're going to see that exact player in Quayshawn Fuller. I guarantee you. 6'3", 264-pound senior out of Maryland. Guarantee you're going to like him. Comments, let me see. Nothing there. All right, y'all chat it up now. What y'all doing, man? Next guy. I got quite a few receivers on here, so y'all bear with me, man, because I do think that's going to get targeted in the draft. I don't see what we need receiver-wise in free agency or money worth be spending. That's just my opinion. I think I think they're going to draft a slot guy, in my opinion. But I've opened up my mind enough to say that you need to get some different kind of receivers in here too. So I don't have only slot receivers. I have one other guy in here, but I'll show him to you in a few minutes. Let's get to the next guy. Now, this is Nishad Strother out of Oregon. 6'2", 320 pounds. He's a plug. I mean, he's a stout fire hydrant. Athletic, powerful. He can really move. And in pass pro, in pass pro, I think he was really solid, but he really flashes that dominance in the run game. And here's what I'm going to take. I'm going to throw my notes away for this one because I want to. I just want you guys to think about this when you start looking at the film. I keep harping on athleticism being one of the keys to whether or not a guard can translate the center, in my opinion, especially in this kind of offense that Ben Johnson wants to run. He needs guys that can really, really move and are really dominant up front. Be able to move, get to the next level, and you kind of play with some dominance up front. He definitely flashes. Nishad Strother definitely flashes dominance in the front. And his feet, it's almost incredible the way these cats are coming out. Now, I don't know what it is, whether it's they're putting in extra training or just getting a whole bunch of year-round work. I don't know what it is, man, but I have never seen guys this big and this girthy. This is a 320-pound man. And be this fluid around the hips and his feet be as quick. I'm blown away looking at some of these guys. And Nishad Strother is one of them. I see this guy, and I'm pretty sure people in House Hall have already looked at his film and have already evaluated this kid. I'm guaranteeing there's a room full of people when they do this kind of stuff. When you get to the final, I guess the boatload of guys that you want to do, when this guy's film comes up, and I'm imagining there's probably 30 people in that room. I'd be hard pressed to say that there wasn't one guy in that room that didn't say, you know what, I love his traits, but I can see that translating to center. Just look at the athleticism, you guys. Just go look at the athleticism and let that be the thing that you judge him by. You know, watch the dominance, how he flashes dominance in the run game, how fast he gets to the next level. You know, he gets off that ball, gets an initial block, and gets to that next level in lightning speed. Coaches see that kind of stuff. Offensive line coaches see that kind of stuff on film with this kind of girth and power. And they start looking at chops. And this is one of the guys that, talking about late round draft pick or UDFA. I did that show early, I think last week or a few days ago. I can't remember how long I did it, but I was talking about, the UDFA market for the Chicago Bears. I hope they really clean up the bottom of that roster because the talent in this draft is probably more superior in the UDFA class than I've ever seen it. The talent of the guys that are not going to get drafted is amazing. And Nishad Strother, guard from Oregon, is one of those pieces. If he doesn't get drafted, I would be surprised, but not so much. But if he's one of those guys you got out there as a UDFA, you better make priority to get him because I see a big, big, bright future and a big ceiling, high ceiling for this kid. 6'2", 320-pound senior, Nishad Strother out of Oregon. Very, very impressive to watch on tape. Get to a couple of comments here. What up, Marlon? Wow, Mr. Charles, I'd love to get you on the show tonight, but I'm trying to get in and get out before 2 hours, and I'm rolling. I'll read the email. And I'll get with you though. What's going on, Marlon? All right. Yeah, Quayshawn Fuller. I thought he got like 8.5 sacks in college. I think he got like 8.5, but I might be wrong. You might be right, MC Fact. All right, let's get to the next guy. Who we got now? I think this guy is the one that got the 8.5 sacks. He's another Oregon Duck. Now, I just got to, I'm going to say pretty much the same stuff that I just said about Quayshawn Fuller. But this is a cut above. This is a cut above. And you want to talk about a Dennis Allen just prototype? Defensive end Jordan Burch out of Oregon, 6'6", 295-pound senior, is as versatile as there is in the draft. There is, I don't know, outside of maybe TJ Sanders, maybe Quayshawn Fuller, and there's a couple other guys I can think of, but I think he's, as a tweener, Jordan Burch is he's probably more superior as far as the talent level goes. This dude's a freak athlete. He's 6'6", 295 pounds playing the edge rusher. And can line up on the inside and give you work too. The tricky thing about him, one of the things, if you end up not looking at the game film and you end up looking at highlights, you might see a couple of trick plays in there they throw in there on special teams. Some trick bag stuff they do on fake punts. They'll throw him in there and, you'll see how nice of an athlete he is. This dude is a freak. And you might not be able to tell from this graphic looking at it, but his lower body power, his body looks different now than I seen it the last year is when he really got on my radar. And so I was just like, he looked a little bit overweight, but now he looks perfect. I mean, absolutely perfect. This is a fluid athlete and probably one of the more versatile defensive linemen in this draft. Don't know where he's going to get drafted, but I don't think he's going to go undrafted. 110%. I'm pretty sure this guy's going to get drafted and probably ain't going to get out of the third or fourth round if he lasts that long. Because when you're a Dennis Allen type and you have traits when it comes to your edge rusher, he's perfect. He's everything you're looking for. Burst, speed, power, finishes, averages about 8-9 sacks a season. Jordan Burch is a treat. And Oregon just had a team full of treats just all over the field. And, I'm still doing some of their players. And this is just one of the guys, Jordan Burch is one of the guys that I had to stop and let you guys know about. There's probably plenty of people watching this show or listening to it right now that's already knowing who Jordan Burch is. But this is for the people who don't. And you want to check him out on film, you should. Defensive end, Jordan Burch, 6'6", 295-pound freak of nature, dual, just versatile, edge rusher, defensive tackle, anything you need him to be, he will excel at either one of those roles. This would be a treat to put him on this roster. Absolute treat. Enjoyed it, man. Here's the next guy, Jimmy Horn Jr. I don't think anybody that's that has a TV and the internet, there's not too many people who don't know who Jimmy Horn Jr. is. So Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'8", 174 pounds, out of Colorado, has a very, very interesting story. And so if you a tape junkie like me, you know that Jimmy Horn Sr. is his father. Jimmy Horn Sr. was a really high quality receiver out of New Orleans. He was a professional football player. And so somewhere around 2021, I think he got busted. I don't want to speculate on what he does or doesn't do, but he got busted for some kind of drug charge. What that means is, whatever it means. But it gets interesting this way. And so Jimmy Horn and Deion Sanders are, I guess, cool enough and friends enough to where when that happened, so Deion Sanders was on this kid when he was at Jackson State. He was recruiting him to come to Jackson State, and he went through his dad to do it. He went through his dad and let his dad know that, hey, man, you give me this kid, I'll turn him into something. I'll make sure I usher him to the NFL. And I guess it looked like that he was going to end up going there. But anyway, Jimmy Horn Jr. went to South Florida at first. And so he did pretty good numbers down there, did all right. But after after the incarceration, I think Deion turned it on and got him to the transfer portal and ended up with Jimmy Horn Jr. It's a great story if you want to read up on something. But let's talk about the play. This guy's he's just a pure slot receiver. Here's what I don't like about what happened to him down at Colorado. I think that because they were in a spread offense and it's a lot of quick game stuff, which does benefit Jimmy Horn Jr., his skill set, because he's got a lot of twitch and a lot of burst, great hands, and great after the catch. That does bode well for a kid like him. What you didn't get to see is how well his route tree, he's got a pretty good route tree. And you got to see a little bit of that when he was at South Florida. But this kid has got, like, the potential for this kid is really high, because I don't think he scratched the surface of what he can be. You can't when you're in a quick passing attack. All you're doing is getting little curl routes, little comeback routes, and you're trying to run after the catch. That's what the spread offense is. And so, you just didn't really get to see development as a receiver this cat is. He is absolutely the best receiver on that team. And they had Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is a DB that, doubles as a receiver, but this is the best pure receiver that they had on the team. Jimmy Horn Jr.'s got all the traits. He's twitchy. He's got that burst. And I think, looking forward to him in the future, depending on where he lands. If he lands in Chicago and they're looking for a pure slot receiver, this dude can translate very, very well at that, man, because I think his potential and his route tree will get to open up, and you'll get to see more of the explosion that's waiting to happen when Jimmy Horn touches the ball. And he can work that middle of the field and just really be, I think, a slot receiver. I think that's a profession. Like, you got to be really, really good. There's a couple receivers down here we're going to talk about in just a minute that takes that to a whole nother level when you watch them on film. But I think it's a certain way you need to look at football when you playing slot, man, because you got to work a whole bunch of the football field. And I think his potential is pretty much limitless, because it was very, let's just say, cordoned off when he was at Colorado, just because of the style of offense they operated in. But this guy is super duper talented. If you haven't checked out his story, I suggest you do that too. But definitely check out the film, man. This guy's going to be a stud on the next level, and I don't think anybody would question that. Love Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'8", 174 pound senior out of Colorado. Check him out. Let's see here. Let me see. Say, Marlon Johnson says, "Hey, no man, if you get a chance, check out Tuasa V. No more linebacker out of Fresno State. You know what? Fresno State's on the list. I haven't got to those guys yet. Don't be saying that out loud, Marlon." And Fresno State, there's like a slew of teams that I haven't got to in some of these mid-majors. Fresno State's one, New Mexico, a lot of those teams out there I haven't done yet. But I will remember that, Marlon. As soon as I get to them. I'll get to them, though, bro. Don't worry about it. Let me see. Man, don't be sending me all that spam mail, Minister Charles. You be telling me stuff like that, I ain't going to open it up. I might get a virus or something. It's all good, Marlon. I was just bullshitting, man. All right, let's get to the next guy. Who we got here? You want to see another treat? You guys want to see another treat? Wide receiver Daquan Felton out of Virginia Tech, 6'5", 215 pounds. I said sophomore on that. I got that wrong. I think he's a senior. Straight up playmaker. Straight up playmaker. Big, fast, strong, great hands, big catch radius, explosion after the catch. What you can't see in this graphic. Number one, he's fast as shit. He's fast as hell. He's fast and he's explosive. But what you can't really see and what the graphic doesn't really give you a good impression of is how strong his lower body is. When he catches the ball and how hard it is to bring that guy down. He's 215 pounds. He's a load. And he doesn't move like it. Like you look at him on film, you're going to be like, ain't no way he's 215 pounds. Ain't no way he's 215 pounds. Wait until you look at the tape and how explosive this cat is. You're going to say, ain't no way Daquan Felton is no 215 pounds, no man. Ain't no way. Go look it up for yourself. And watch how explosive this cat is. Constantly taking the top off the defense. Constantly being explosive after he catches the ball. Now, I wouldn't shake nobody in this podcast or anybody listening to the network or watching the network and tell you he's this cagey, he's got a big route tree. He's not a hell of a route runner at all. But that's what you would expect when you're getting a guy like this that's that explosive. That's why you got coaches in the NFL to help him develop that. But holy crap. These are players that, I'm finding and, and I'm wondering to myself, like, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm looking at shows, and everybody's talking about the same thing. And I'm just like, you would be led to believe that there's only a handful of good players in this draft. And this is what I mean when I tell you from top to bottom, there are explosive players and uber talented players through the entire process. He might not even get drafted. Daquan Felton might not even get drafted. That's how bad it is. That's how bad. There's no way we should be just drafting less than 300 people. That's crazy. This dude deserves to get drafted. Wait till you see the film. Daquan Felton is an absolute explosion waiting to happen. This is the kind of guy that you want to do jet sweeps with. When you want to put somebody in the backfield at a receiver on some kind of motion and you want to hand the ball off to him and you want to really be dynamic in your offense like Ben Johnson likes to be. Daquan Felton gives you those capabilities, much like a Savion Williams. Guys like that. This guy's an explosion. You understand? An explosion. Daquan Felton is an explosion waiting to happen. He just doesn't have a big route tree, and he's not this cagey route runner. But that's okay. That's why you got coaches in the NFL like Randall L. that can get you up to where you need to be. We're talking about the development of an uber talented piece of clay. This guy, if you can get him in the aftermarket draft, are you kidding me? Wait until you guys see this film. This is Daquan Felton, receiver out of Virginia Tech, 6'5", 215 pounds. A load. And an explosion of waiting to happen as soon as he touches the ball. You're going to love that film. A couple of comments here. I hear you, Mr. Charles. Thank you for telling me that, man. Because, I hear you, Mr. Charles. Derek Guy said he could be our version of Jameson Williams. I can't wait till y'all look at him. I can't wait till y'all see this kid on film, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And you get a sense of like, wow, you got somebody this talented that's getting projected to get drafted this low or not even at all. You're going to be like, are you kidding me? We need to clear some of this roster space, bro. That's all I keep thinking every time I see a guy like that. All right, let's get to the next guy. We got another receiver. Oh, yeah. We got another one. Chimere Dike, receiver out of Florida. Now, let me tell you something. He's 6'1", 196 pounds, a senior. Now, let me tell you about his story. He started off at Wisconsin. He was pretty good there and was targeted, but not as much, because anybody that knows Big Ten football and Wisconsin football, they prioritize running the ball a whole hell of a lot. And I'm imagining that, him knowing that and knowing that if he wants to get, the kind of attention to himself He might have loved Wisconsin. I think as a matter of fact, he might have been born and raised in Wisconsin or something. But I'm sure that was his dream to go to Wisconsin and stay there and, play out his college career there. But in order to get to the next level, you don't see too many Wisconsin receivers turning out in the NFL. No, why? Because they focus on running the ball. Nothing wrong with that. But this guy might be the most developed slot receiver. I'm talking about his route tree. His route tree, I think, is special. This guy really knows how to work that particular job and really knows how to work the field, especially when he sees zone coverages. He just really has a knack for finding the holes in the zone and really knowing when to sit down. Very, very quarterback friendly. Very, very quarterback friendly. He will route you up in one-on-ones. But when he sees a zone, when teams are trying to, go into that too high shell and they're trying to zone you up and trying to kind of keep you so they can play downhill on you, this guy will mess all that up. He's probably got the most developed route tree for a slot receiver that I've seen so far, and I've seen some pretty damn good ones. Some pretty damn good ones. I think Xavier Restrepo, I think about when it comes to really developed route trees, when it comes to, the slot position. He's got a really developed route tree, but I think this guy is even more superior. I couldn't help but think about Dante Pettis when I was watching him. Because, you hear anybody at Hallis Hall, a couple years ago or just last year talking about the receiver room and who's the best this and who's the best that. You kept hearing that people said that Dante Pettis was way underrated. He's the best route runner on the team. I kept seeing Dante Pettis and Chimere Dike. This guy will route you up. He's got special hands, number one. He catches everything. He's got good release off the ball. He's got a nice little burst. But I'm telling you, that dependability and him being able to find his way and just constantly be open and catching everything is very, very quarterback friendly. And I think we're in a market for a slot receiver. And we might as well look at them all. You know what I mean? Chimere Dike, receiver out of Florida, 6'1", 196 pounds, will absolutely remind you of Dante Pettis when you're watching him work. Dante Pettis, I thought, was a hell of a slot receiver. I think we just didn't use him right, or however that worked out here. But this guy has a lot of those vibes, man. I see a lot of value in this kid. Probably is going to go undrafted again, but a lot of value in this football player. Chimere Dike, 6'1", 196 out of Florida. It's a nice treat to watch on tape. Just saying. A couple of comments here. Chimere Dike, he ran a 4.3. Are we talking about Chimere Dike? Are we talking about who we talking about? We talking about Chimere Dike or Daquan Felton? Who we talking about? Chimere Dike? Damn, I didn't know he did that. I didn't know he was that fast. I'll be damned. I heard about that, Geno Smith to Las Vegas. Let me get to the next guy. All right, here's a story for you. And there's probably a few people who know this kid just from his Alabama days. This is running back Roydell Williams from Florida State. He's 5'10", 215 pounds, and who I largely regard as your all-purpose running back. Why? A funny thing happened to Roydell Williams along his way. Now if you pay attention to high school football the way I had to learn how to pay attention to it when I was, mentoring kids and training them up, I learned that, the hottest bed for running back talent is Alabama or Texas. If you want to find the top running backs in the country, it's going to come from one of those two states. Alabama, Texas, you get a bunch of them from Georgia, Florida, and different places. But Alabama is constantly pumping out just high caliber running backs all the time from all over the state. And I think what happened with Roydell Williams, I'm pretty sure this is what happened. Roydell Williams was the top running back coming out of high school, the top runner. Everybody wanted him in the country. But he chose to go to Alabama. I respect this kid. Why? Because he wanted to be challenged. He went to Alabama because it's probably his dream. I want to play at home at Bama, like everybody else, and I want to talk about it. He went to, here's the problem. They had probably the top 5 running backs out of Alabama, or the top 5 running backs in the country on that same team. And so he had trouble, just getting on the field and getting touches. It's not because he's not a good running back, but Alabama is always just loaded with running backs. And he had a hard time getting on the field. And so he played it out for a couple of years. And then he must have watched that season when, Florida State was right there on the precipice of getting that championship. And he saw the potential there. And I don't blame him from going into the transfer portal so you can see the field more. I don't blame him for that. We'll never blame him for that. If you can't get on the field as much as you want to because you're surrounded by a bunch of dog running backs, go somewhere where you're going to get profile a whole bunch more. But he messed up when he went to Florida State. Holy crap, Roydell Williams messed that up. He went to the worst place he could have gone to. I've never seen a collapse quite like that in my life. From a team that was just on the verge of winning the national championship to where Florida State, oh my God, that quarterback was a disaster. I've never seen a bigger letdown in college football in my life. They say Miami took a big, huge free fall, but that happened steadily. This happened like yesterday. It happened like one day, and then the next day it was gone. It was an absolute disaster down in Florida State. So do not go look at any box numbers to tell you what Roydell Williams is. He's one of the better all-purpose running backs in this draft. He's always been that quality. I will always stick by that because nothing changed about his traits and his skill set. He's got everything you want. He's a complete running back. He runs with all kinds of power. He's got the speed, the lateral agility, easy hands, natural catcher. He's pretty much a receiver that plays running back, but he runs behind his pads. And he will pick up now. I will say this about Roydell Williams. He will stick it to you on you trying to blitz a quarterback. He will stick it. He will stick it. I will say that about him. Let's see if he keeps that same energy when he runs into Micah Parsons. We'll see. But this guy has got everything you need. All-purpose running back. Everything. He doesn't have to come off the field. He can stay on there for 4 downs. Roydell Williams is one of the sleeper running backs in this draft. I guarantee you that. So anybody that knows who Roydell Williams is knows that he's got everything that you need. He just ended up in some situations that, now he's not. I'm pretty sure he's seen himself as a Heisman Trophy winner when he came out of high school. But the situation that provided itself for him wasn't, wasn't as fertile as he needed to be, and he transferred. He just went to a bad school in a bad situation. But the talent is there. The traits are there. Roydell Williams is everything you want as a back. You probably want to see him put on another, 5-10 pounds maybe, but I don't think he lacks for anything. I don't think he lacks for anything. He's just one of those guys that might get drafted late or not at all. It's going to be a steal for whoever gets him. Check him out, Roydell Williams, running back, 5'10", 215 pounds out of Florida State. It's not much to see on film, but what you see on film, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Guarantee you that. Let's get to the next guy. This is Zeke Biggers, defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. 6'6", 321 pounds. Man, this dude's a Sasquatch. Straight up Sasquatch. And you can't help but to see, I got to say it right off the top, man. This is it's like you're looking at Akeem Hicks. It's really what it is. It looks like you looking at a young Akeem Hicks. He is really, really a ball of clay. Now, why I say that about Zeke Biggers, I think every single football player in this draft is a developmental prospect, right? That's just the way I see these guys. I don't care who it is. Each one of them are gonna need development, and a lot of it. Now, some of them more than others. Like the first thing that jumps out to you about Zeke Biggers is there's nobody that's gonna block him one-on-one. If he wants to get to that backfield, there's no one player that's gonna stop him. Not on that level. Not on that level. And I don't think a professional can really stop him. Now, here's one of the weaknesses I had to point out about Zeke Biggers is I don't like his pad level when he's rushing, when he's penetrating. He has got to get with some coaches that can really, really help him. And that's hard to do when you're 6'6" and 321 pounds. You're big, and everybody's underneath you for the most part. And so, but what I see is a genuine ball of clay that's got everything. And he's a pure nose tackle, by the way. Zeke Biggers is a pure nose tackle. He's a pure nose tackle. He's not going to give you any other reps other than nose tackle unless he suddenly drops 20 pounds and starts to work on some other techniques. Who knows what coach might ask him to do what. But this guy, when you need to stop the run and you need to, in this offseason, address your defensive front in that manner, Zeke Biggers is everything you want in a nose tackle. You just going to have to work with him, getting his pad level down and, just getting behind his pads a little bit more. But he's got it. He's got it. He's got everything you want. You just got to know that when you bring this kid into your building, you just got to know you got to get to work right away, working on that aspect of his game. And once you get that pad level down, that thrust and that power that he plays with, and he's a monster in the run game. He's a monster in the run game. You can see him completely take over games when he wants to. Completely. Zeke Biggers will take over a game when he wants to. But you just don't see it consistently enough. You know what I mean? It's just, but I could not help and resist putting this kid on the show. Zeke Biggers is a piece of clay that I think when you have veteran coaches inside of Hallis Hall that are used to working and getting the best out of a kid that has these kind of traits and potential, this is the perfect situation for him. This is the perfect situation for him. You want to get, if you're not drafted and you ended up on the UDFA market and they target you, just know that he's going to come in there and they're going to put him to work. They're going to love on him first and get the best out of him. But this guy has got uber talent, man. The ceiling is high for this kid. Zeke Biggers is an absolute monster, and he's only scratching the surface barely in college. Wait until the right coach gets his hands on him and what this guy's going to be able to do. I'm just telling you, it's outstanding, man. Defensive tackle Zeke Biggers, 6'6", 321 pounds, out of Georgia Tech, man. You got to check this kid out. Get a couple of comments here. Yep, Zeke Biggers. It is. Let me see. Florida State's my favorite college team outside of Illinois. I know about Florida State, man. I'll be watching all they guys. He's a huge dude, man. You put him with the right coach that's gonna know how to trigger the best of that kid's, football nature. From what I hear about the defensive coach here, he's got all those kinds of traits, man. He's gonna get the best. This is the kind of player that you want to bring into the building when you got coaches like this, man. I really look to those kind of guys to really get, instead of a young coach that's, a bunch of rah-rah, man, you got to get to know these guys, man, and really see what makes them tick. And that's what maturity and what sage coaches know how to do. They know how to just fall back and really investigate somebody and really figure out what makes this guy go. There's something that makes him go. I'm going to get it out of him, and they'll find it. That's the kind of guy you want in the building, man. Mr. Charles says that's where great hand skills come in when you have that big and tall guy to compensate for the pad level. Yeah, that's true too. That's very true, man. You got guys that just pop right up and just big like that. You do have to be a little bit extra special with your hands, man. And like that, I'll be seeing guys work on that, I don't know, that little jujitsu pad that people be working out and doing all the hand, stuff like that. And we had that when I was at school. It was guys doing that. My coaches would make them guys go through that thing every single day. They hated doing it, but later on they understood why. You know what I mean? Because when you come out of high school, it's like nobody's got that stuff in high school. Nobody doing all that stuff. You get to a college facility, man, you see all that kind of stuff in there. You're like, what is this? Like, yeah, you're going to be dealing with this every day. Don't worry about it, homie. Let's get to the next thing. Yep, that's what we need, some space eaters for sure. Let's get to the next guy. Got another one for you. Here's a story. This is Javari Ritchie, 6'4", 294-pound senior out of North Carolina. Now, been watching him for quite some time too. This is the thing about Javari Ritchie. Javari Ritchie, he came into North Carolina, and to me, that was his best tape. You might see some of the stuff that he's done in the last year or so, and you might think that's better tape. Like, to me, when he was a freshman, he was dominant. Now, he got moved off the ball a whole lot more because I think he was only playing at about 275, 280 pounds this is probably more of a freshman image that you're seeing. But Javari Ritchie put on about another, maybe a 15, 20 pounds since then. You know what I mean? I don't know, somewhere in that neighborhood. And you can see his game be affected. And I'm just imagining that the coaches at North Carolina asked him to put on that weight, or they couldn't have. It could have been, doing your college boy thing. And, that's what college kids do. They eat too much, drink too much, and, you pick up some weight. But I would imagine just, if I know what I know, right, the coaches probably asked him to put on a couple pounds so that he can play some different technique. And so mostly he's playing 3 technique. They want to be able to, all coaches want to be able to rotate their guys, interior and playing a little bit of nose guard and do all those kinds of things. And they probably asked him to put on a couple of pounds. And to me, I don't think that's his natural. That's not his natural weight, 294 pounds. I think he probably would be at his best at about 285, 288, maybe 290. You look at him play from his freshman year until where he is now, you'll see a different football player. But what I can say about Javari Ritchie, he might be, and I'm saying this with a whole bunch, with knowing that TJ Sanders is out there and there's a couple of other 3 techs that I think are really, really athletic. I think he might be more naturally athletic than them all. And I'm talking about just a pure athlete, he doesn't have to try. He just naturally has that gift of athleticism to be able to shoot gaps. I'm telling you, his freshman tape was the most impressive tape to look at. And I'm guaranteeing you that anybody that's looking at Javari Ritchie's tape is going to look at his tape and say, you know what? What's the difference between you as a freshman and you now? Anybody that sat down with him, he's going to say, well, coaches asked me to put on a couple of pounds and, it's probably affecting my game a little bit. And they're going to be like, you need to get down to your natural weight. Where do you feel most comfortable? Do you feel faster at 280, 285? You got to get that out of him, man. But this is a uber talented football player, Javari Ritchie out of North Carolina, 6'4", 294 pounds. Burst, extremely athletic. He's a great pass rusher, great motor. Sideline to sideline speed, that will jump out on you on the tape. He chases that ball. He's got a motor on him. He's got a motor on him. And that's, sometimes that's half the game, that you don't quit on plays and you keep running to the ball. That's important. I know coaches that will dig in your behind about that. And you won't see the field if they see you lacking. And so this kid's got it all. He's a piece of clay. He's a project that you're going to have to work with, but has all the tools and the traits in the world. Got all the want to, all the desire, all the effort. Everything is there. You just can't, you might not fall into that category of the number of players that might get drafted. That doesn't mean you might not be a great player. Think of the John Randalls of the world who didn't get drafted. Where is he at? So it is value at this part, of the draft, whether he gets drafted or not. He's got value, a lot of value. So check him out, Javari Ritchie, 3 tech, defensive tackle, 6'4", 294 pounds, senior out of North Carolina. You'll like him. We only got 2 more to do. Well, we only going. Let's do this. We got to do this real quick because I'm trying to get out of here. This is receiver Brennan Presley, 5'8", 168 pounds. He's a treat to watch too, from Oklahoma State. Very, very twitchy. That's the first thing that's going to stick out to you, is he's twitchy, extremely twitchy with the ball in his hand. He's a hell of a slot receiver. He's pretty polished too as a slot receiver. After the catch is where he's going to really stand out to you guys. After the catch, he's really, really dangerous and dynamic. He's got the speed to break the top off the defense. He's got everything you want. And he's got a nice route tree. He's extremely polished, so he's already a developed receiver. And, my guy Kez loves Tutu Atwell, and every time we get to that part of the offseason, well, we get to spend some money in free agency, he wants to, draft Tutu Atwell. I like Tutu Atwell. But I keep telling him, I'm like, Kez, we can get Tutu Atwell in the draft. This is one of those guys right here. Tutu Atwell, maybe a little bit bigger. But this guy's pretty special to watch on tape. I think you guys would love him too. Brennan Presley, 5'8", 168 pounds senior out of Oklahoma State. He's going to be one of them guys that jump off the film at you. This one I saved to last. This guy right here, holy crap. It's going to sound like I said this before, but I know I have not. This guy, this is Keaton Crawford, safety out of Nevada, 5'11", 202-pound senior. Number one, let me tell you a little bit about his story. He went to Texas. I don't know what happened there. He signed a scholarship to go there. Don't know exactly how it happened, but he ended up in the transfer portal, ended up in Nevada. I don't know how you go from Texas to Nevada. The kind of player that he is that's going to jump out the effing film at you. But let me tell you something. This is probably the twitchiest, quickest get from A to B safety I've seen in this draft, and I've seen some great ones. Caleb Downs, you got a bunch of them that are really twitchy like that. You know, the kid, I can't think of his name, Billy Bowman, he's really twitchy in Oklahoma. And some other ones. I think Nick Emmanwori is pretty twitchy. There's a few of them. Malachi, there's a few safeties out there that are really, really, this guy's twitchier than them all. That is going to be the first thing that jumps out to you on film when you look at Keaton Crawford. Is how twitched up he is and how instant, how he sees it and he's there. He can go from A to B in a blur, an absolute blur, you guys. I'm telling you, this might be one of the, and I don't know if Illinois Jones is in the show right now, but this is for you, Ilya. If you watch this show, I can remember you telling me there's not that many good safeties in this draft. And I kept trying to tell you, man, there's some really good safeties in this draft. And Keaton Crawford out of Nevada has to be one of my favorite ones I've ever seen so far in this draft. He is going to stand out to you guys. I guarantee you. I'm imagining that after this show, most of the comments, that if anybody says anything about any of these players that I showed tonight, I think most of them are going to come about Keaton Crawford, safety out of Nevada, 5'11", 202 pounds. He's a treat. Absolute treat. Wait until you see this kid. Check him out. But I got about 5 minutes left real quick. FFG, if you're ready. I got about 5 minutes left before we got to close the show out. Take a couple of comments, and we're going to have to get up out of here. I don't know where FFG is at. Oh, there he is. Got about 5 minutes, man. Like less than that right about now.
Well, there's a lot of good players that we can, get on the low, because that's not what people are looking at. Looking at all the top tier pieces, we can actually share a lot of the quality pieces that are the good backups. They're kind of model the building blocks of the franchise. Somebody gets hurt or somebody just needs to get ahead and need an opportunity. And that's what a lot of these dudes were. I know no man talked your head off about a lot of these cats. Jordan Birch was probably one of my favorite dudes. He talked about that guy was just a freak athlete. There's no way around it. And you get him quality coaching and a chance to play, especially at this level, he'll show you a lot. So, no, go ahead.
No, I just monitor the time, man. I'm just trying to get, you get free cut-ups if you can get out here under 2 hours. You go ahead and just run through you guys what you saw real quick. No, don't worry about it.
One of the guys that was just easily one of the standouts was Jimmy Horn Jr. Just a pure wide receiver with the speed, with a great route running, uses hands very silky smooth out there. It's hard to be a guy that is that complete and got to play with a quality quarterback most of his career. Everybody else that I saw, I really look at the potential they could hold and the different roles they could play for a backup or seventh round UDFA, because I think that's where we're going to be making a killing this year for the dudes who don't get drafted.
Unaliving.
No, I'm so serious.
But anything else, man? Anybody else that really stuck out? Any closing words before we roll up out of here?
Abasote really had my head spinning the way this kid played on the inside. The long arms, the speed, the agility, just the power to just get off the block once he had people sealed and go to town with something that we haven't seen in a while. So, again, like I said, a lot of these players need a coach. They need an opportunity. They need the NFL experience to show them that they're just as good as everybody else they saw in college, but they need a chance.
Yeah. I think, like I said, man, and this is just to get ready to close it out. Shout out to everybody that came and showed up, showed out. Every last one of you guys, love you all, man. Love y'all with the bottom of my heart for always showing us love and making it worthwhile to doing this content and spending all this time, doing this work to be able to tell you guys about them. And hopefully what I say matches up with what you see. You know what I mean? And that's the goal. And that's the only goal we have over here is I'm not showing video because a couple of seconds worth of video ain't going to tell you nothing. It just takes a whole lot of damn time that I don't have. You know what I mean? That's just, I already got too much on my plate to add video to it. I think you guys, I know how nuanced that the viewers over here on this channel are. I know they look at film. I know they're going to look at the film anyway. So, I'm just going to give you guys the names and, you check them out for yourself. But I'm telling you, there's some uber talented guys I had on that list, man. And I am very, very impressed by them. And I hope you all feel the same way. And you let us know in the comment section after the show what you thought of them, man, because we're looking for all kinds of feedback for that. Get that up a little bit. Make sure you guys hit the like button. And anybody that's looking at the show that hasn't subscribed to the channel, come on in here and join the community, man, and hit that subscribe button. We're looking forward to your support, man. We welcome everybody in here. One of the things I'm proud of about the Nomad Network is not only do we set a standard for how to treat each other, you know what I mean? We can get some bad behavior going on in the chat right now. And I might not have to say nothing. The community will take care of him. The community will take care of her. Whoever it is that's in here acting like they don't understand what's going on, community will take care of it. But I'm proud of that, man, because we set a high standard coming out the gate, man. It's just doing nothing but getting better and better. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the content we putting out there, man. We're going to keep on pumping that out. But I got to get up out of here. I got about 2 minutes before we do it, but I got to go early, man, because I got to really use the bathroom right now. And I'm rubbing my legs, holding it. I got to get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, man. I'm going to leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, we are out.
Peace.